Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Welcome into another edition of the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scot.
And I'm Bunny.
And as per the usual, when we get together in the studio to do one of these shows or do a session for the podcast, we get to talking. And so we've been in the studio now for like an hour and a half, just basically shooting the shit. And
or wasting your recording time, one minute at a time. Huh?
Well, yeah. And Bunny laid a term on me that I had heard, but he used it in such a way that, well, basically, I think the week this episode comes out is the week of Good Friday.
Yes.
So he gave up something atypical for Lent.
I did.
You gave up.
I gave up horror movies and all horror-related media.
And just like most good Catholics would give up eating meat on Fridays for fish, what did you substitute for the horror movies?
Well, I have an extensive collection of bad films and all that, and one of the sub-genres of films that I've collected is Hicksploitation. Now, Hicksploitation is the exploitation films that revolve around poor people in Appalachia or the Deep South, or people, out in the desert, or whatever you would consider rednecks or hicks. And the funny thing is, there was a meme that just came out of like a guy who was trying to categorize all the different types of metal music he liked, and it was everything from deathcore down to like dungeon synth to fantasy something or other, like all this medieval crap. And then the other person on the other side just called it all stupid gnome music, and that's sort of the way that people feel about my movie collection. Like, I have an entire exploitation folder that's broken into subgenres of bikesploitation, which is all biker films. We have greasesploitation, which is exploitation, should I say, which is all greaser and car culture type films. We have Canucksploitation, which is all Canadian.
No, not Canadians.
Yeah, bad Canadian cinema. Hicksploitation, of course. And there's blaxploitation, which you've all heard of. All these 70s black pimp movies. So I decided, I'm staved off horror movies. This has been the longest. What is Lent, like 78 days or something? I don't know.
It's a fairly long time, but see, the fact that you gave up horror movies for the entire time and not just on Fridays for dinner is because it's a testimony to your will.
It's discipline and something that maybe a lot of you Catholics out there should figure out.
Shots fired.
If you're going to give up meat, you better well give it up the whole time. I mean, right? Not just on Fridays. Yeah. And fish, I'm sorry kids, fish is meat. I don't care what you say.
If you really want to give something up, go vegan for Lent.
I watched a thing where they were talking about the medieval days where they would come up with all these excuses for things so they could eat more meat during Lent. It was the whole thing where they were like, oh, well, anything that comes from the sea is fine because it's not really meat. So then they started eating like birds that, were around the ocean and porpoises and all sorts of other things, just because, well, eggs really aren't, meat, but
they're soon to be meat.
Yeah, so it's okay to do that. And so they came up with all sorts of excuses to keep eating everybody's favorite thing, meat.
It's not about the actual giving up; it's about the image and the idea of.
Yeah, so sorry to crap on the Catholics there for a minute, because this was a big experiment for me. I thought, for some reason in my mind, when you give up something for Lent, you give it up entirely for the whole time. This is me coming from a place of naivety.
Yeah, well, see, I mean, my family is Catholic, and I did not follow that path, but I understand all the concepts. I've read the book and all that jazz.
Okay, so I may be doing this entirely wrong.
You're doing it fine.
I may be putting this, just putting more on me than I have to, but I never realized how much I fell back on the horror genre. I mean,
it's your comfort zone.
Well, I've always had the concept that people don't choose horror. Horror chooses people. Because from a very, very early age, I was into this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always been such a part of my life. I didn't realize how much horror I consume, how much horror media I consume.
Let me just say, I always knew in going over to your house, like during summers or whenever when we were kids, I always knew there would be several issues of Fangoria that I could pick up and just flip through if depending on what was going on.
I had to keep it was before I had a coffee table. It was my light reading. But yeah, Hicksploitation. So I've been watching probably a Hicksploitation film every night, maybe two on some nights when I've got some free time to burn. And boy, howdy, has it been eye-opening and interesting.
Now, just for me to refine the genre, would like Deliverance be considered Hicksploitation, but
Yes.
at a major film studio level?
There are quite a few major studios that delved into Hicksploitation. I'm shocked at some of the things. I watched a Martin Scorsese directed Hicksploitation film called Boxcar Bertha the other night.
Never heard of it.
Something you'll never hear of because Roger Corman was the one who's got his name on it. He hired Scorsese to film this, and it had Richard Carradine and John Carradine in it. The father-son team.
Sure.
It had oh gosh, I'm trying to remember all the people's names, like Bernie Casey. Do you remember Bernie Casey, a prolific African-American actor back in the 70s? He was in it. A lot of staples. I'm shocked at the number of people. I watched a movie with Jan Michael Vincent the other night, and Kenny Rogers, of course, shows up in these every once in a while, and just a lot of familiar faces. I mean, we consider Smokey and the Bandit, of course, Hicksploitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which has got a lot of big names in it too. So it's interesting.
Give me a Diablo sandwich and Dr. Pepper and make it fast. I'm in a goddamn hurry.
That's right. What a line. So, and there's a lot of really lowbrow underground garbage too. I watched something. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's not The Pig Keeper's Daughter, which is also on my list. That's coming up. Good Friday can't get here fast enough.
The Pig Keeper's Daughter.
Yeah. I watched one where it was basically one step up from a pornography. It had full frontal nudity and people having sex with their nieces and their cousins, gross. And one boy who kept having sex with a cow the whole time. It's bizarre. It can go from that all the way up to more high art,
I just want to say that in describing that, the last 15 seconds here, I think that borders on horror.
Yeah, it was called Sassy Sue was the one that I watched that had that had all the weird incest sex in it. The entire plot of the film revolved around a man who lives in the country, even though it was shot in California and everything's dusty and deserty and the buildings have this sort of Mexican adobe flair to it.
Yeah.
But they tried to set it like it was in Appalachia somewhere or the Ozarks. And the man has come up with a way to make custom outhouse seating, which involves taking his attractive young nieces and slathering their bare asses in paint and then lowering them onto a piece of wood from a rope to make a butt print and then cutting out the butt print. That's the entire premise of an hour and 20-minute movie. Suffer, little children, suffer.
I am agog.
I am agog. I was agog as well. There were a few that were so bad that I will never watch them again.
And for Bunny to say that, folks,
true.
Let me tell you, that is as much of a condemnation as you can potentially
There was something called a bath, Saturday Night Bath in Apple County. Saturday Night Bath in Apple County that was nothing but a series of unrelated skits all slammed together. It was a 60s movie. Fucking reprehensible. That's the only way I could describe it. I mean, it was so bad that I had to sit there and kind of just suffer through it. So I was not going to give it up. I don't give it. Once I sink my teeth into something, I will ride it until it's dead, basically. And this one, I was like, This is probably the worst thing I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff.
I just want to throw this out there that this episode, when it airs, should have a listing with it of like Bunny's recommended Hicksploitation movies.
By all means.
You know, like your top 10 for people to sit through.
That's tough. I mean, it's definitely Smoking the Bandit is probably number one.
Obviously, yeah.
Number one. That's the easiest to digest, I think, for everybody.
It's simply the best.
Yeah, it is.
It's, the fact that we can whip off quotes from that movie
That's true.
off the top of our head is
now, the thing is,
I've
watched other Jerry Reed movies because I was a fan of Jerry Reed in the Smoking the Bandit series.
Yeah.
But
nothing else.
Let me tell you, it's not, nothing else is Smoking the Bandit.
No, not even close.
He should definitely stick to singing.
Yeah. Theme songs.
Yeah.
Let's stick to that.
He was also good in Scooby-Doo. If you remember that episode where he was in Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Scooby-Doo meets Jerry Reed for some inexplicable reason.
Because why not?
Yeah.
And on that note, we should probably do some mega wheel.
Yeah, I think we should. Sorry about that.
Happy Lent.
Yeah,
happy Good
Easter.
Friday. Happy Easter to everybody.
So Good Friday is now not only good because he has risen, but man, it's good because movie Liberation Day.
Bunny can watch horror movies.
I've got a stack of horror films piled up that have come up, while I've been waiting this month. Hey, how long is Lent? It feels like forever. Is it 40 days or 30 days or something?
I don't even remember.
My word.
It's a pretty long time.
Yeah, so I've got a pile of stuff that
It's a chance for all community organizations to make their money for the year on their Friday fish fries and stuff.
Oh, I do love me some fish fries.
Haven't gone to one in a few years. And the thing I love about fish fries, like local ones, wherever you're at, there's usually at least one or two really good ones, but it's the mac and cheese that you get at fish fries.
Oh, yeah. It's grandma's, made it at home mac and cheese. Yeah. The one we go to. It's great.
Yeah, it's always super good. So I will give Mega Wheel the Magnificent a spin, and we will see what our typical topic would be for this show, since we're about halfway through already.
Jeez, sorry about that.
Okay. And, this is just perfect because we're talking about Lent, we're talking about Good Friday and Easter, and literally, and Bunny can prove it because I'm going to show him the topic as soon as I read it to him. Why should churches and religious institutions pay taxes? You couldn't ask for a better topic right now, folks. So, what do you think?
Because most religious organizations are businesses. Yep. That's pretty much all I could say about that. I mean, it's not the good of the community that's keeping them alive. It's all sorts of amazing things like bingo and fish fries and festivals and all sorts of, little events like that. They go out. Any church that has the kind of money that can go out and proselytize or do mission work or buy Bibles at cut rate and send them to foreign countries or whatever, they should be taxed the same as any other business.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think that churches and religious institutions should pay taxes, or I would be willing to have a voucher program or a deferment. So whatever money you take in, the amount in taxes that you should pay if you are a business, if you can show that you have done that amount of work or given that amount to local food kitchens, donations, working in the community, then that's fine. Instead of taxes, that's where you're putting it.
That's a good idea.
But there's got to be that in and out.
Yeah.
You can't just collect the money and.
I mean, if a church wants to be tax free, it should be political free then too. It shouldn't be able to endorse candidates or give money to whichever candidates they're into.
Yeah, 100%.
For whatever reason. So, once you get into the realm of gerrymandering or whatever, then you should probably just be taxed like the rest of us.
Yep, 100%. So we will give Mega Wheel the Magnificent another spin. Mega Wheel's got close to 1,500 topics on her still. And we are rolling through, and our next topic for this episode is, do you think It's amazing how the questions sometimes just rock.
I'm glad, because normally they're all over the damn place.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. Do you think our society is progressing or regressing, and why?
Well, I don't believe in progressing for the sake of progressing. I think that is a circle, that you don't actually get anywhere when you don't have a goal to progress toward, a unified goal to progress toward. I wouldn't say this country is regressing either. I would say we are in a situation where there's too many disparate and diverse voices that don't agree on anything. So we're not actually going anywhere. We're just sort of in this mosh pit stagnation right now. And they keep playing the same Anthrax song over and over again. It's getting pretty tiring, isn't it, kids?
I think we are progressing technologically.
Sure.
And at the same time, we are regressing in our humanity, in our compassion. We are becoming too much like the machines that we have come to adore, in that we allow ourselves to be programmed. We allow ourselves to take input and make that part of our operating system and don't see anything else. We're unwilling to think. And when I say we, I mean to take everybody into account. Obviously, I think I'm somewhat above the fray there, but I understand that every bit that I take in, I have to be careful and filter somehow and try to remain true, try to back things up with facts. Don't get caught up in the propaganda. I think that progress for progress' sake is kind of like art for art's sake. It's a good thing in that every step forward I take, I would hope I'm taking that step for everybody. If that makes any sense. I think progress is good. I think sitting still, being stagnant, is just a terrible way to live. But you always have to remember your past. Remember the lessons. Remember where you came from. Remember where you were. Learn from the past. Learn from where we've been. So I think we are progressing, but at the same time, we're allowing ourselves to be pulled backwards in some really significant ways.
And see, it's funny, though, because you say progress and you feel like your progress is bringing everyone forward.
I hope.
Yes, you hope. Well, there are other forces out there that feel like they're progressing, too.
The evil forces.
Well, yeah, and they're dragging you along. You know how that feels when you don't want to be dragged in that direction.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by progress is a circle. Unfortunately, it's the serpent eating the tail, the Ouroboros.
Well, you mentioned that, and like at the top of your response to this, like there's no unified goal. Mm-hmm. And there never has been, but we have always, well, not always, but we have continued to progress through history.
Sure.
Well, known
That's
history.
time.
I mean, didn't the Hubble telescope just take a picture of a star exploding?
Took a picture
and
of my butt.
The time they figured out the time that this actual image happened was like 5500 BC.
Yeah.
It took that long.
What
for
I
the
mean by
light to get here.
progressing is not technology. It's political and social progression. Not so much. I mean, technology is progressing forward is a wonderful thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too.
I think that benefits mostly everybody in the long run.
If you maintain the humanity of it, and I think that's something that we have lost. The empathy, the compassion. It's like allowing yourself to be dragged out into the surf. There's so much water. You got to be careful where you swim, I guess, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's a tough topic because we are so of our age, especially as Gen X.
I'm old.
Well, we saw the first computers.
Sure. Yeah.
We learned to program in BASIC. Yeah. We remember when DOS was the foundational program underneath Windows. Mm-hmm. We remember what the C prompt looks like. We've got that history. We've grown up with it. And we've also seen a lot of those things perverted, like the use of of social media for propaganda. Like when computers first happened, when you had the internet, when you got your first AOL account, it was like opening up a whole new world. Mm-hmm. And it was fun. It was interesting. It was great to get online and do research and just goof around and post stupid things on bulletin boards.
And then they let all the unwashed masses in, and it all went to shit. Sorry.
Well, it is a little bit of that cult of the amateur thing. When you let everybody play, it waters things down a little bit. And so the question becomes, do you want everybody to play, or do you want to like corral things? And I don't have an answer for that. I really don't, because there's a part of me that really wants everybody to have the same access to everything and have the same abilities and opportunities. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I also understand humanity, and I understand most people are going to take those opportunities and shit on them and use them for nothing but bullshit. So it's a weird spot to be in.
Your eyes are opening, grasshopper.
They've always been open. We'll give Mega Wheel of Magnificent one more spin for this episode of the Gen Existentialists. If you'd like to contact us wherever you're listening to this, drop us a comment, and we will feel free to ignore it.
For the love of God, send us a line.
We might respond to it.
Yeah.
Okay, final topic. This is amazing. When do you feel society's expectations of masculinity actually help you, and when do they hold you back, Bunny? And this also ties into part of our pre-show conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad to see some general ideas of masculinity returning. I think we had a bit of a period there where it was sort of scorned universally, and I feel like it's good to have a little bit of that coming back, because I think that the universe operates best when there's a balance. You know, there has to be a little bit of weight on the masculine and the feminine side, and not some weird quasi area in the middle. Where does it not benefit me? In certain societal aspects where I guess there's an old structure where the man is supposed to be the only breadwinner, and they've perverted that into something called the alpha male now. That's what the thing is. You're either an alpha, beta, gamma, or sigma. So, you know, I think there's a lot of ways to be masculine, but not just operate in that one narrow field. Because let me put it to this way, all you alpha males and gamma males and all that out there. I mean, how does it feel to stay on the same track as your ancestors, this sort of hardcore alpha male energy, and to not have women reciprocate or respond to it the way your grandfather might have had some response? You know, how does it feel to not be appreciated by the opposite sex in the way that you feel like you should be appreciated by the opposite sex? Does sticking to your guns really, is that a hill you want to die on? I guess. So that's my question there. It's kind of a weird quasi answer, but how about, I think that masculinity is a good thing. I think it has a very positive role and can be a positive role in the future and should be. I think masculinity taken to an extreme is a detriment to all men and women. The same way I feel femininity or feminism taken to an extreme is a detriment to all men and women. So
I think extremism in general is typically not needed.
The only thing I want extreme is my energy drinks.
Society's expectations of masculinity. Masculinity is such a wide target. It's like the concept of the beat in music, and I can't remember who talked about this, Charles Mingus, maybe, somebody like that the beat isn't just a spot to land in. The beat is fairly wide, and where I land with my note as a bassist if I'm landing on the front side of the beat, it's going to feel a little bit rushed and on edge, kind of like a lot of Iron Maiden music, where Steve Harris is playing on the front edge of the beat. If you're playing blues, you're usually on just the back edge of the beat. It's not just a point. There's room within that point. And I think masculinity, femininity, gender in general is the same way. There are a lot of places to be. So I don't care really about masculinity and femininity, not the way I did when I was a kid, when you're growing up and you're learning and your hormones start racing. I don't judge people by how manly they are or anything like that, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. And the whole idea, whenever somebody refers to themselves as an alpha male, I go back to the study where that came from, the Wolf study, that was completely disproven. It was a misinterpretation. It's bullshit. And these people have taken it to this extreme. Well, I'm an alpha male. Like, fuck you, dude. You're garbage is what you are, because all you're doing is giving yourself a free pass to be a jackass. That's all it is.
Alpha male and alpha female, which I consider like the hardcore feminists out there. They're both obnoxious. Yeah. They both do their gender and their movement a disservice in a lot of ways. They do nothing to get people together, really, but it makes money. So that's why people keep doing it.
It's divisiveness again. It's one of the many things that I just don't need in my life. Like, if you're cool to me, I'm going to be cool to you. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who you like. I don't care what you look like. I care insofar as it is part of you. And if we're conversing or we're working together, it's part of you. And I care about it for that. But I'm not going to judge anybody based on their level of masculinity or femininity. It's not a thing.
Don't judge me on my bulging muscles.
Well, it's a tiny curb that so many people just don't have. They haven't figured out a way to just step past. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it. So society's expectations, fuck those expectations. Expectations, let me use my favorite line. One of the favorite things I ever said. Expectations are a cage that traps your potential. Get rid of your expectations and just live. And everything will be just fine. That's my take. And that'll do it for us this week on the Gen Existentialist. Hope to catch you again next week. My name's Scott.
Have a happy Easter. I'm Bunny. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.